Romeo 4 ISS, over. Buongiorno, India Kilo 1 SLD, this is Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. I've got you loud and clear, and I'm ready to talk to the Quantum Scouts in Canada. Over. I am ready for the first questions. Over. Good question, Emma. I love looking out and looking at our planet. In particular, I'm from the United States, and so I can recognize my home, and obviously very close to the United States is Canada, so we can see a lot of things going on in Canada. I'm from New England, so I like looking now, coming up at the snow. Over. Thank you, Casey, for your question. I love Saturn just because it's cool and it has rings, but really my favorite planet is Earth because we get to wear a bathing suit on Earth. On the other planets, we wouldn't get to do that, but it would be fun to go look at them. Over. Alice, a great question. I was just looking out at the stars a couple hours ago, and there's so many, too many to count. I think billions of stars out there. I could see our Milky Way even, and it's just too many to count. Over. Thanks, Max. Yeah, eating is a big deal, right? We all like to eat, and so we have a lot of food here. Sometimes we have lasagna, sometimes we have fajitas, sometimes we have chicken or soup, and there's desserts also. There's brownies. There's like a cobbler, apple cobbler. The food is already prepared, so all we have to do is heat it up. Some of the stuff is dehydrated, means we have to add water, like our fruits and vegetables. Our chopped up strawberries or beans, for example, we add water to and hydrate them. Over. Hey, Marshall. So I was a pilot in the Navy, and then I became a test pilot, and that's just one road to becoming an astronaut. On board is another doctor, but doctor of physics, Don Pettit, and then we have all sorts of other people who are medical doctors, veterinarians, school teachers, but everybody does science, technology, engineering, and math. It's in their background. Over. Hi, Thomas. Yes, of course I can see Lake Erie, and actually I was born in Cleveland, so on the south side of Lake Erie. You guys are on the north side. So yes, I've seen it, and I've taken lots of pictures of it. Sometimes it's cloudy, and then I can't take it, but when it's clear out, yeah, you can see it. So we can see all the lakes, all the Great Lakes, for example. I can see when I fly over the eastern part of the United States, all the way up to the Hudson Bay, down to Florida. So we have a big view of all of where we live on Earth. Over. It's a good question, James, because I do want to come home. I look at the Earth and I think, oh my God, there's so many fun things to do, so many great places to go visit. So we have a spacecraft up here called Dragon, which we will all get into and take that home. So it will, one day when we're ready to undock from the space station, we'll get in Dragon and then we'll fly it back home and land somewhere near Florida. Over. No, I haven't. In particular, my 3 flights were construction of the space station, living on the space station, doing experiments on the space station. We are doing all of this on the space station to get your generation, you guys, ready to go back to the moon and live and maybe build a station on the moon. So we are practicing for you and checking out all of the systems that you guys might use in the future. Over. Hi, Sierra. Well, it's pretty shocking if I tell you just about 10 minutes. It depends on the rocket and the spacecraft, but that's really how long it takes to get out of our gravity, the gravity that's holding us to the Earth. We're still in microgravity while we're here, but to get to a place that we will orbit around the planet is just about 10 minutes. Now, getting to the space station might take a couple orbits, and the orbit is about an hour and a half, or maybe a couple days. For us, it was about 25 hours to get to the station. Over. Good question, Andrew. We actually get in our spacesuits here in the space station, connected to an umbilical, which makes sure that our air tanks are topped off. And right before we go out into space, we disconnect that umbilical, so we have a set amount of air while we're out on the spacewalk. But if we start to get low, we can come back toward the airlock and hook back up, plug back in, and recharge our oxygen tanks. Over. So, Lucas, me personally, no. We have had rovers that have gone there, and I look at them as they're looking for the right place for us to go and land. But they have found evidence that probably there was water or some type of fluid flowing on Mars at one point in time, so it really makes you wonder. There might be something, some microbe that is there, or maybe there was something. We have to go look and find out. Over. Hi, Tyson. Well, I was mentioning all of us have studied in science, technology, engineering, math. Then we've been part of a laboratory or part of a squadron or part of a team, a group, and maybe we're a follower in that group and then became a leader in that group. So it does take a bit of schooling. So most astronauts have an advanced degree before they apply to become an astronaut. Hopefully, we'll be able to launch more and more people into space before long with this commercialism of space, and maybe that won't be the case in the future. Over. That is a great question, Rolly. You know what? It's harder because you can see so many stars. We don't have our atmosphere blurring our vision. When I look out the window and look at all those billions of stars, there's so many. It's actually harder for me to pick out the constellations. However, you can tell which ones are the bright ones. For example, we were in the southern sky and we saw Canopus today, and then in the northern sky, Sirius, I think it was. Over. Oh gosh, this is out of my league. I don't know the answer to that one. I'll have to look that up. I think Google would know that better than me. Over. Well, the temperature really varies, particularly like I've felt it as doing a spacewalk. When we're in the shadow, it's very cold, like potentially maybe minus 200, and when we're in the sun, it's pretty warm, like potentially plus 200, because we don't have our atmosphere, that blanket, that insulator, to shield us from the extreme temperatures of space. So that's why our spacesuits are one of the reasons our spacesuits are so big and heavy, because they protect us from those temperature extremes. Over. Sure, that's a great question. It's always fun to be with you guys, you scouters. I really like The Martian. I thought The Martian had some really great attributes to it. I think one that annoyed me probably was gravity. You look a little funny if you see pictures of me. My hair stands straight up, and we don't look as good as Sandra Bullock while we're up here. Over. Oh my, we're studying all sorts of things. We do experiments, of course, on ourselves, taking our own blood and urine samples, for example, saliva samples, to find out what is going on with us up in space and making sure we can track that and make sure we know how humans will live in space. We're also doing amazing science up here, stem cells growth, DNA, sequencing DNA. We're doing all sorts of exploration demonstrations also for how we're going to build space stations or spacecraft that are potentially smaller and safer in the future